Today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the usefulness of technology as an effective teaching tool for music. This is aimed at music teachers. So, the key factors in effective technological pedagogy are the abilities and the skills of the teacher in curriculum delivery, and the need for teachers to employ various tools and strategies available to them which are applicable to their subject area. So teachers require knowledge of what is available to them. So teachers need to be up to date with music technology. Teachers also require knowing which tool will be the most useful to enhance learning and facilitate learning. That is, teachers need to know their students, understand the various technologies that can be used, and decide which technologies will suit the students being taught. Teachers also need to know how the technology works. So they need to have experience in the programs and devices that they're using. They also need an understanding and an ability to discern which programs or devices are most appropriate for the relevant learning circumstances. For example, whole class instruction versus small group instruction. So now onto the positives for integrating technology into the music classroom. Students building their theoretical skills in music, supporting curriculum goals. So, technology can be a great tool to build students' theoretical skills in music. For example, there are a bundle of programs called Auralia and Musician. Beginning with Musician. Musician is a music theory training site which has very specific topics which students can study. There are 5 broad topics: pitch, rhythm, terms and symbols, harmony and instruments. They are featured in the program, and within those topics are more specific subjects. For example, in pitch you have note reading and harmonic notes, scale degrees, intervals. In harmony we have chords, diatonic chords, jazz chords, modulation, etc. So, for example, if I was teaching a stage 4 class, teaching students basic scales on piano, such as C major, G major, or D major, you could select scales underneath the pitch category and click on level 1. So let's do that. For very basic scales. And all students could do this by themselves, individually. So you could have this set up on iPads or computers, students working individually. And then they could practice the theory behind the scales they've just learnt, okay? Auralia, which is the brother program of Musician, if you like, is actually an ear training site. Once again, you've got your 5 main categories: intervals and scales, chords, rhythm, harmony and form, and pitch and melody. Once again, another great program to reiterate the learning that students are undertaking, okay? So in this respect, they're working on training their ear so that they can hear the music and hear the techniques and concepts that they're learning, the theoretical concepts. So it's backing up what you're learning in Musician, but it's being able to hear these things. For example, being able to hear intervals, not just being able to see them. So you could go into scales once again, and students could then individually listen to that scale and decide whether it's Aeolian or major, whether it's natural minor or major, okay? So another positive for technology in music is the ease of use and immediate access to knowledge. So a good example of this is learning songs on YouTube. So I might have a stage 5 music class, year 9 or 10, who are studying popular music. Let's say we are going to be learning and playing the song Get Lucky by Daft Punk. I could ask the guitarist to learn their parts for homework. I could email them a YouTube link, and they could go home and they could learn that, ready to play within the class ensemble the next day or the next period. One example here. This guy shows the main chord progression used in the song and breaks it down very simply.
On the basic bar chords. So first things first, let's just figure out what the basic structure of the chord progression is, and then that helps me build my little mini.
Allowing different ways to reach different types of learning. So there's an acronym in education, VAK, V-A-K. So the acronym is for visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. Technology which would be suitable for visual learners would be Star Wars, which is a program that you can download off iTunes. And see here, I've downloaded it, and it's accessible for iPads and iPhones. So students could have this on their smartphones or on their iPads, on the school's iPads, and work individually. Now, this could reiterate the knowledge of, well, this does reiterate the knowledge of the notes on a musical stave. So, basically, once you've taught the students, say, for example, the rhymes of, we're in treble clef now, so the rhymes that they would remember to learn these, for example, every good boy deserves fruit, E, G, B, D, F. They then have this program where they can practice their skills. So I've just got a YouTube example here. C, E, C, B, etc., etc. to use in classrooms. Most students will see this as a reward, perhaps at the end of the lesson. So that's visual learners. For kinesthetic learners, students who learn by doing rather than listening to a traditionally structured lesson will benefit from technology such as Logic Pro, Cubase, or Fruity Loops. So I really like using Logic Pro. So one example I could give to you is, say, stage 4 or 5 students, teaching them about primary chords in music, chords 1, 4, and 5, to help with their composition. After teaching the theoretical content and allowing students to write compositions using primary chords on keyboards, so physically playing the chords on a keyboard and hearing them, they could then jump on a program like this and use the piano roll, which I have for you in front of you now, and actually punch in their chords and hear those chord progressions back to them. And I mean, then they could go and put drums and bass or any instrument, strings, woodwind instruments, behind their chord progressions. So it's allowing the students to listen back to their compositions, which is obviously going to increase their motivation and understanding of primary chords. So now, motivation and engagement is another positive of integrating technology into the music classroom. So, and also students having ownership of their learning. For example, there are online facilities such as Bandcamp, SoundCloud, and YouTube. These facilities, they create workspaces for students where they can publish their work online. I or any other music teacher could create an assessment task where students are to upload their performance or composition onto YouTube or SoundCloud, which in turn gives the students motivation to feel as though they have completed a professional product. So they're using the same platforms that the musicians who they listen to use. So ultimately, this would increase motivation to learn, motivation to complete assessment tasks, and give the students a strong sense of ownership over their assessment tasks and over their learning. Here we have SoundCloud. You could create an account, students could create an account, and then simply upload their assessment tasks, their compositions, onto SoundCloud. enabling teachers to assess students' knowledge and abilities through multiple means. So, following on from the last point, the teacher is then able to assess students' learning through a multiplicity of means. For example, compositions on logic, which it comes under the use of technology in music, in the music syllabus. Performances on YouTube, as opposed to traditional ways of music assessment, such as performing in front of a marker sitting behind a desk, or submitting a composition on disk or USB. Using technology, using classroom differentiation within technology, enables teaching for students of various abilities. So, for example, technology can be a helpful resource in classroom inclusivity. If we can return to musician and Auralia, we can have different levels of learning. So, for example, for the high-end kids, high-learning kids who are way above, learning really fast, they could jump up to level 6, level 7, say, for example, in key signatures, okay? Low-end students who, with intellectual difficulties, they might only use this program at level 1 to begin with. So you can really cater for students of varying abilities. And that also benefits the students at the low end who, they've got an achievable goal there. They will reach an outcome. So they won't just get left behind. And students who are moving really quickly through class content, it enables them to jump through at their own level, okay? And in effect, the teacher's role through differentiation, teacher's role becomes that of facilitator of learning. Okay, issues of technological pedagogy in music. Plagiarism. Students now have the ability to download a piece of music off YouTube or SoundCloud and present it as their own. Also, students could buy sheet music for a song online, then copy the score and hand it in as a completed oral task. So, for example, if I set a task to transcribe, let's go back to Get Lucky by Daft Punk, transcribe the bass line in Get Lucky by Daft Punk. Students could go and buy the score for it online and then just copy the score onto a piece of manuscript and hand it in, ultimately not benefiting their musical oral skills. Computer viruses, scams and spam. So that relates to all subject areas, but music included. So self-explanatory, but teachers need to be aware of that. Authenticity of content. So, for example, students could be assigned a research musicology task on a particular artist. Students have access to ubiquitous knowledge these days, and some online information is incorrect. Students could base their research of an artist on what they read on Wikipedia or social media. Obviously, not all information that they will gather from Wikipedia or social media sites will be veracious, will be true. So, teaching etiquette. Teachers need to educate students on online bullying, appropriate use of the internet, proper means of research, and safe internet surfing. Room for error. So, technology allows for room for error within music teaching. So teachers will not be able to access learning content without power or without internet. So teachers always need to have a backup lesson which does not rely on technology. Teachers need to be mindful to recharge laptops and iPads after lessons and make sure they're prepared for a lesson. Possibility of skill loss. So students no longer have to rely on music notation skills and having a competent musical ear. Instead of reading sheet music, students can learn how to play videos, which we saw before with the Daft Punk example on YouTube. Also, rather than developing their musical ear by analysing songs through sight singing and piano skills, students can now cheat their way out of harnessing these skills through these YouTube instructional videos.